Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. So today, let us discuss the important issues which has appeared on New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 15 January 2020. The news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's start our today's discussion. Now, this news appears on page number 1. It says Kerala government challenges Citizenship Amendment Act in Supreme Court, and a suit in this regard has been filed under Article 131 of the Indian Constitution. So, the state government of Kerala has become the first state to file a petition against Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, and it has approached the Honorable Supreme Court of India under Article 131 of the Constitution, under which Supreme Court has original jurisdiction with respect to disputes between states or center. The state of Kerala in this regard has also said that it would be compelled to follow the provisions of Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 under Article 256. As according to the state of Kerala, this particular act is manifestly arbitrary, unreasonable, irrational, and also violative of fundamental rights, particularly secularism. So, first of all, in this aspect, you must know about Article 131, as UPSC in the year 2012 as well as in the year 2014 has asked a question on the same provision in the prelims examination. So, first of all, let us go through the provision of Article 131 and then let's go through the question asked by UPSC in both these years. So Article 131, as already mentioned, deals with the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India, whereby it says that Supreme Court shall, to the exclusion of any other court, shall have the original jurisdiction in any dispute between Government of India and one or more states, between Government of India and state or states on one side and one or more other states on the other side, or with respect to any dispute between two or more states. So primarily this is the provision with respect to Article 131 of the Indian Constitution. Now let's go through this question. This particular question was asked in the year 2012 and this one in the year 2014. So the question was, which of the following are included in the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? So we see a direct question on Article 131 has been asked by UPSC without naming the article itself. So the options were a dispute between Government of India and one or more states. Yes, this is correct. Second, a dispute regarding elections to either house of the parliament or that of the legislature of a state. No, this is incorrect. Third, a dispute between Government of India and a union territory. No, nowhere in the article the word union territory has been mentioned. And fourth, a dispute between two or more states. So in this aspect, the first and fourth statement become correct. So here the correct answer was C. The question asked in 2014 was rather plainly simple. The question was, power of Supreme Court of India to decide disputes between center and state fall under its. The options were advisory jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction and writ jurisdiction. So here the correct answer again was C, that is original jurisdiction. So in this regard, you must know about Article 131 with respect to original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Now the question is that can a state under Article 131 challenge the constitutionality of a central law? Now there have been two conflicting judgments on this aspect. The first one is with respect to state of Madhya Pradesh versus Union of India, which has held that states cannot challenge the central law under Article 131, whereby other judgment, that is state of Jharkhand versus state of Bihar, took just the opposite view in 2015 and referred this question to a larger bench of Supreme Court for final determination. Now since state government of Kerala has filed a suit with respect to constitutionality of Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, so in this regard let us wait for the final judgment of Honorable Supreme Court of India. Now another important aspect must be understood with respect to Article 256. It says that the Kerala government in its petition has said that it would be compelled under Article 256 to comply with the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, which according to them was manifestly arbitrary and against the principles of secularism. So, in this regard, you must know about Article 256 of the Indian Constitution. Now, Article 256 talks about administrative relations, and this forms a part of relations between union and states. So, in this regard, Article 256 primarily deals with obligation of states and the union, whereby it mentions that executive power of every state shall be so exercised as to ensure compliance with the laws made by Parliament and any existing law. So, Article 256 effectively talks about compliance of all the laws made by Parliament as well as any other laws which apply in that state. And in this regard, the executive power of the Union shall extend to giving of such directions to a state as may appear necessary to the Government of India. So, with respect to compliance of laws made by Parliament or any other law, the Union government is empowered to give directions to states. So, this becomes an important aspect with respect to compliance of law and direction given by Union government with respect to such compliance of laws made by Parliament or any other laws. So, you must remember Article 256 in this regard, and it is here where the state government of Kerala is saying that it will be compelled under Article 256 of the Indian Constitution to comply with the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. So, in this regard, let us wait for the final outcome of the judgment. So, in this article, you must know about Article 131 as well as about Article 256. The next news also appears on page number 1. It says, Hallmarking made must for gold jewellery, whereby no jeweler will be allowed to sell gold jewellery or artifacts without hallmark from the Bureau of Indian Standards, and this will be done from 15th January 2021 onwards, that is a year later. So effectively, the government has allowed 1 year with respect to selling all gold jewelries or artifact having hallmark from the Bureau of Indian Standards. Now this news appeared on Press Information Bureau on 29th November 2019, whereby it mentioned about a notification for mandatory hallmarking of gold jewelry and artifacts across the country to be issued on 15 January 2020, giving 1 year time period for implementation as per the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. So yesterday, the Minister of Consumer Affairs, while holding a press conference, asserted the mandatory hallmarking of gold, whereby he mentioned that the purpose of making hallmarking mandatory for gold jewelry and artifacts is to ensure that consumers are not cheated while buying gold ornaments and they get the purity as marked on the ornaments. Further, they are also better informed about the purity of gold, which now will be only served in 3 cartage, that is gold of 14 carat, gold of 18 carat and gold of 22 carat. And all these information will help in removing corruption with respect to selling of impure gold. So in this regard, hallmarking and certification of gold has been provided under Section 14 and Section 16 of Bureau of Indian Standards Act 2016. It says that the BIS Act 2016 has enabling provisions under Section 14 and Section 16 for making hallmarking of gold jewelry and artifacts mandatory by the central government. It says that this will make it compulsory for all the jewelers selling gold jewelry and artifacts to register with BIS, and thereby they'll be allowed to sell only hallmarked gold jewelry and artifacts. So in this regard, you must know about the basic aim and purpose of Bureau of Indian Standards Act of 2016. It says that the Act aims to provide for establishment of a national standards body for the harmonious development of activities of standardization, conformity assessment and quality assurance of goods, articles, processes, systems and services, and also with related matters associated with development of these activities. And the national body here mentioned is BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards. Further, the government with respect to hallmarking of gold has issued BIS hallmarking regulations of 2018, whereby the BIS is running a hallmarking scheme for gold jewelry since April 2000. So in this regard, let us learn certain basic facts with respect to hallmarking of gold and also certain important aspects about the Bureau of Indian Standards. Now, as per the Bureau of Indian Standards Act of 2016, hallmark means in relation to precious metal article. It refers to a standard mark which indicates the proportionate content of precious metal in that article as per the relevant Indian standard. So hallmark refers to a standard mark which indicates about the quality of that particular precious metal. The objectives of this hallmarking scheme is to protect the public against adulteration in such precious metals such as gold, and also to obligate the manufacturers to maintain legal standards of purity. So the dual purpose of hallmarking is to protect public against adulteration in precious metal and also to obligate manufacturers to maintain legal standards of purity in such precious metal. The Government of India has identified the BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standard, as the sole agency to operate the hallmarking scheme. So BIS is the sole agency in India to operate the hallmarking scheme. Hallmarking of precious metal is voluntary in nature and operates under the BIS Act, that is Bureau of Indian Standards Act of 2016, as well as its various rules and regulations. Now there are four components of hallmarking as provided by Bureau of Indian Standards. The first is BIS mark, second is purity in carat and fineness, and third is assaying and hallmarking centers identification mark number, and fourth is jewelers identification and mark number. It says that purity of gold is indicated in two ways. First, with respect to carat, which is denoted as KT, and second with respect to fineness number. Now this fineness number is purity in parts per thousand. It further mentions that the hallmarked gold jewelry is available in three grades, that is 14 karat gold, second is 18 karat gold, and next is 22 karat gold. Now for hallmarking, the BIS has formulated the hallmarking scheme for certification of gold as well as for silver jewelry and artifacts. So as per the scheme, those who wants to obtain a license has to apply to BIS for the use of standard mark or hallmark for such jewelry. And after the grant of license, these jewelers must follow a BIS approved scheme for certification. It further says a jeweler who is BIS certified has also a right to approach any of the BIS recognized assaying and hallmarking centers to get their jewelry hallmarked. So this is how hallmarking is done by Bureau of Indian Standards in India. Now BIS is the national standard body of India and works under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. BIS is also responsible for the harmonious development of the activities with respect to standardization, marking and quality certification of goods. Now BIS operates two important schemes, namely the Product Certification Scheme and the Foreign Manufacturers Certification Scheme. The Product Certification Scheme ensures compliance to Indian standards. Presence of BIS standard mark, which is popularly known as ISI mark, on a product indicates conformity to the relevant Indian standard. Now BIS certification scheme is voluntary in nature. However, for a number of products, compliance to Indian standards have been made mandatory by the Indian government through various rules and regulations. Now another scheme of BIS is Foreign Manufacturers Certification Scheme. Now this is a separate scheme for foreign manufacturers in order to certify goods manufactured outside India. Under this scheme, foreign manufacturers can seek certification from BIS for making their products with BIS standard mark. And this can be done after ensuring conformity of the products to relevant Indian standards. So these are the two schemes with respect to certification of products under the Bureau of Indian Standards. This topic becomes important as questions may be asked on hallmarking of gold as well as with respect to basic facts about the Bureau of Indian Standards. And with respect to your syllabus, this topic forms a part of economy as well as polity with respect to specific laws and regulatory bodies. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears in the editorial section on page number 10. It says, Theological thicket. Supreme Court must mark limits of religious freedom against which legality of practices can be tested. So in this regard, Supreme Court has commenced its hearing on issues related to discrimination against women in various religion and also at various religious worship places, including Kerala's Sabarimala temple. Now it's important to note that the 9-judge constitution bench headed by Chief Justice of India has said that they are not hearing review petition of Sabarimala temple, rather they are considering issues which have been referred by the 5-judge bench earlier. So on this note, it becomes important to note the issues which were referred by the 5-judge constitution bench with respect to Sabarimala temple. So these issues formed by the majority opinion led by former Chief Justice, Justice Gogoi, Justice Khanvilkar and Justice Indu Malhotra. So the set of issues which were framed by the 5-judge constitution bench were: first, whether a court can probe or investigate if a practice is essential to a religion, or should the question be left to the respective religious head. Second question was, should essential religious practices be afforded constitutional protection under Article 26, which pertains to freedom to manage religious affairs. And the third point was that what is the permissible extent of judicial recognition a court should give to public interest litigations filed by such people who do not belong to the religion of which practices are under scanner. So these were the three important aspects. So these are the important aspects which will be heard by 9-judge constitution bench of Supreme Court. Further, the 9-judge constitution bench shall also probe other aspects, such as it will decide on questions of law on women's entry into mosque or temples, genital mutilation among Dawoodi Bohras, entry of Parsi women who marry outside the community into fire temple, etc. Further, the 9-judge constitution bench has also said that they will not decide the individual facts of each case, but rather answer the questions which were framed by the 5-judge constitution bench earlier. So in this regard, it's important to know about Article 25 as well as Article 26 of the Indian Constitution. Now Article 25 mentions about freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. Now this article starts by saying that subject to public order, morality as well as health and to other provisions of this part, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right freely to profess, practice and propagate religion. So effectively, this right of every person with respect to freely professing, practicing and propagating religion is subject to public order, morality and health. So effectively, state can regulate or restrict any economic, financial, political or other secular activity associated with religious practice. So effectively, this provision highlights about regulating or restricting any economic, financial, political or other secular activity associated with religious practices. But it does not include religious practice. That is, state cannot regulate or restrict religious practices which are integral to religion under this particular provision of Article 25. Further, Article 26 mentions about freedom to manage religious affairs, whereby it says that Article 26 gives special protection to religious denomination, whereby according to Article 26, every religious denomination or a section thereof has the following rights. First, to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes. B. To manage its own affairs in matter of religion. C. To own and acquire movable and immovable property. And D. To administer such property in accordance with law. And further, this right to manage religious affairs can also be regulated by state with respect to public order, morality as well as health. So, in this aspect, let us wait for the final verdict of the Supreme Court with respect to the following questions. The next news appears on page number 10 as a lead article. It says, the long wait for empowered mayors. Mayors in many global cities go on to lead their country. However, in India, it is the opposite story, with politics to be blamed. Now, this article has started by explaining about the Delhi government, especially with respect to various initiatives taken under the chief ministership of Arvind Kejriwal. However, the later part of this article explains about problem of mayorship in India. It says that mostly mayors in Indian states are indirectly elected. And in this regard, there is always a tussle with respect to powers of an elected mayors and with that of an bureaucratic municipal commissioners and with that of municipal commissioners who are appointed by state and are bureaucrats. So, in this regard, this article highlights that despite being considered as the political and executive head of the municipal body, mayors assume a largely titular position with the government appointed municipal commissioners, as they hold the real executive power. And this bureaucratization of municipal body leaves little authority and powers for mayor, especially with respect to urban development, planning, and operation. Now, as Indian cities grow in number and size, the pressure for better urban governance increases. However, Indian urban governance in its current form is fraught with inefficiency and mismanagement. And according to new research, this has been a result of restricted executive powers enjoyed by mayors in Indian cities. So, in this regard, this article highlights that introducing direct election of mayors could improve efficiency in urban governance. Now, in this regard, we must know about Article 243R as it mentions about composition of municipalities. Now, in the year 2016, Member of Parliament Dr. Shashi Tharoor introduced a private member bill which tried to amend Article 343R. So let us go through this private member bill so as to understand that what were the changes which were earlier suggested by this particular amendment bill. Now, this amendment of Article 243R through this private members bill introduced clause 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 to Article 243R. And Article 243 clause 3 says that the chairperson of a municipality to be known as mayor shall be chosen by direct election by electors of the territorial constituencies of a municipal area. Further, it mentioned about the term of office of the mayor, which shall be coterminous with the term of the municipality. Now, the mayor, after coming into office, shall constitute within a period of 30 days a mayor in council for a municipal corporation or a metropolitan authority. And this mayor in council shall consist of mayor and other members to be nominated by the mayor from amongst the people directly elected for the municipal corporation or metropolitan authority. So the mayor had the power to nominate his own mayor in council. And this mayor in council shall exercise such powers and perform such functions which may be assigned to it by the mayor. So this private member bill not only talked about direct elections for mayor but also for a mayor in council to be nominated by the mayor himself. However, this private member bill was never passed by the parliament. So in this regard, let us understand the need and importance for a directly elected mayors for cities. Now, with respect to need and importance of mayor in cities, a direct mandate from urban residents adds up to the legitimacy and accountability of mayor's office, and he then have more independence and power with respect to performing his function, especially with respect to urban development. Further, such a directly elected mayor would also resolve the power tussles between mayors and municipal commissioners. So, in this regard, it is necessary to clearly outline the powers and functions of both municipal commissioners as well as for the elected mayor. Further, it says that fixed tenures for mayors offers great continuity as opposed to state appointed bureaucrats who can be abruptly transferred. So effectively direct election of mayors not only give them legitimacy but also grant them or allow them a fixed tenure which cannot be disturbed by the state government. It further highlights that in the present model, councillor elections are held at ward level and they are based on hyper-local issues, that is, issues pertaining to each of the local areas, and this may not resonate with the whole city. So, in this regard, a directly elected mayor would ensure a focus on the whole city instead of certain selected wards. So, for a direct election for mayor, the mayor will ensure that during his campaign, his focus is rather on the development of entire city rather than on a selected area or a selected ward. So, in this regard, this article highlights that metros have been deprived of empowered mayors who can raise efficiency, productivity, and livability conditions of a big metropolitan city. Now, this article also highlights about a 2017-18 report of economic survey whereby it mentions that one third of population in India lives in urban areas which produces 3/5 of the entire GDP. However, India's overflowing cities lacks capacity, infrastructure and a proper leadership. An economic survey report attributes this to the absence of a single city governor in charge, preferably a mayor, and also low spending on infrastructure by various state governments on their mega cities and important cities. So, this article concludes by saying that the 74th Constitution Amendment must be respected and followed in letter and spirit. And in this regard, directly elected mayors with adequate power and authority can help solving problems faced by large cities. And it can also help solve problems associated with achieving sustainable development goals, issues relating to climate change, various aspects of development of a city, infrastructural issues, and also issues pertaining to UN Habitat New Urban Agenda. Thus, this topic becomes important from the perspective of governance under GS Paper 2. The next article appears on page number 11. It says, "The risk of a domino effect. The unraveling of Iraq, the battleground of the US-Iran conflict, is bound to affect Syria and Lebanon." So basically this article explains that how the recent development with respect to US and Iran will impact Iraq as well as Lebanon and Syria. And this article has tried to explain this impact through the concept known as domino effect. Now, domino effect refers to how one action can have a knock-on effect to related subjects. Domino effect is also used in economics, whereby the domino theory is often used to explain that how an economic problem in one country can spread like a contagion to other countries. So, in this aspect, this article highlights that how this US-Iran conflict can impact West Asia, whereby impacting different countries such as Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria. So, in this backdrop, let us understand what this article tries to explain with respect to consequences for Lebanon and also consequences for Iraq. Now, with respect to consequences for Lebanon, this article highlights that Lebanon is home to Iran's most important regional collaborator, that is Hezbollah. Now, although Hezbollah is an autonomous political player in the region, Hezbollah takes help from Iran both financially and military support. And this support from Iran has helped Hezbollah to solidify its base in Lebanon. So, this financial and military help from Iran has not only helped Hezbollah to solidify its base in Lebanon, but has also helped Hezbollah to confront Israel, which is a strong US ally. Further, Hezbollah has acted as Iran's foremost proxy in Syrian civil war, whereby Hezbollah has contributed substantially to Assad's regime's victory over rebels in Syria. Now, in this regard, it's important to note that Syria in the civil war was also supported by Russia and Iran. So, this article highlights that according to some political analysts, they were of the view that Iran might ask Hezbollah to bomb northern Israel from Lebanon. If this would have taken place, then this could have destroyed Lebanon, as Israel would have destroyed its infrastructure as well as its people, as it did in the year 2006. However, such attack never took place, And in this regard, this article highlights that had this attack from Israel to Lebanon took place, then it would have not only destroyed the infrastructure of Lebanon, but would have also destabilized Lebanon politically. And thereby Lebanon would have become a failed state. So, in this domino effect with respect to US Iran conflict, we see US, Iraq, and Israel on the same side, whereas Iran, Lebanon, Syria, as well as Russia on another side. Now, another important aspect highlighted in this article is with respect to consequences for Iraq. Now, here we need to understand that after this attack on the Iraqi soil, both by United States and by Iran, Iraqi parliament has passed a resolution to remove all foreign troops on its soil so that these foreign troops cannot use air, water, or land. So, in this regard, this article has mentioned certain consequences for Iraq, especially with respect to Kurds population, which demands US presence for their autonomy and for their protection. Now, with respect to consequences for Iraq, this article highlights that US used Iraqi soil for its own personal ends against Iran and thereby violating Iraq's sovereignty. Even Iran retaliated by attacking two United States military bases in Iraq. So this confrontation of United States and Iran on Iraqi soil led to Iraqi parliament passing a resolution to remove all foreign troops from its soil. Now, important point to be highlighted here is that a sympathy wave has turned the tide of popular opinion in favor of Iran, and this is because of majority of citizens of Iraq are Shia Muslims. So this wave of anti-Americanism in Iraq simply depicts the political fissure in Iraq, basically between the Kurds and between the Shia Arab majority. And this political fissure was highlighted when the Kurdish representatives in Iraq, in addition to most Sunni Arab members, also boycotted the parliamentary resolution to remove foreign troops from Iraq. Now, this was because the Kurds considered the US presence necessary on Iraqi soil as it protected their autonomy and it also helped the Kurds to fight against ISIS. So this was the reason that Kurds considered American military presence essential for their own safeguard. And it was because of this they were against the parliamentary resolution passed by Iraq. So this projected removal of United States from Iraqi soil might increase terrorist attack or activities in Iraq and embolden the ISIS cells which is present in Iraq. And all these activities once again becomes a threat to the Iraqi state and its population. So this article has concluded by saying that since 2003, Iraq has been played out by US and Iran in West Asia, as Iraq has become the principal arena in which US-Iran competition has played out in the West Asian region. So the escalation of this rivalry is likely to add to its inherent fragility. That is, escalation of this rivalry might make Iraq more fragile, both politically as well as economically. And this fragility of Iraq might make Iraq a failed state in the region. And this will eventually be capitalized not only by United States but also by other countries including Iran and other forces such as ISIS. So, this unraveling of Iraq will also impact other countries in the region, such as Syria and Lebanon. And this article ends by saying that this domino effect may change the future course of action in West Asia, including its map. So, this is the conclusion with respect to this particular article on domino effect as highlighted by the author. So this article becomes important from the perspective of GS paper 2 with respect to international relations and also with respect to world map, as questions has been asked in the past by UPSC, especially with respect to these countries surrounding Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, etc. So focusing on world map becomes an important aspect with respect to your prelims examination. Now the next news to be discussed is with respect to Annual Status of Education Report 2019, that is ASER report, which is published by an NGO named Pratham. And the news associated with this report appears as an article on page number 10 and also appears on page number 12. So let's see both these news together. On page number 10, the article says Chalk and Cheese in Private versus Government Schools. The annual status of education report findings make a clear case for strengthening early childhood education centers. And page number 12 news says that ASER flags poor learning outcomes in rural schools, whereby cognitive skills can help students with basic literacy. Now, the gist of this entire report is that kids are not school ready by the year 4 to 5 years of age, and hence, in this regard, focus must be given on their cognitive development of their brain during preschool phase. And it is in this regard the theme of this report has been chosen as early years for 2019 report. Now, effectively, this report highlights that kids going in private schools are much better because they have this curriculum with respect to preschool development, whereas this is lacked by public schools or government schools. So, because of a lack of syllabus for preschool in government school, the students lack cognitive development in such schools. Further, the news on page number 12 highlights that only 16% of children in class 1 in 26 surveyed rural districts can read text at prescribed level, while almost 40% cannot even recognize letters as per the 2019 report. Further, it highlights that only 41% of these children could recognize two-digit numbers. So, in this regard, let us understand about the ASER report and also with respect to the key highlights of 2019 report. So, as already mentioned, the theme has been early years for 2019, and this report focuses on preschool learning levels of children up to the age group of 4 to 8 years and the consequent school readiness of these children. That is, how much are these children who belongs to the age group of 4 to 8 years are ready to go to school with respect to their cognitive understanding or cognitive development. So, in this regard, the learning level of children was studied under four broad category or domains. These are first with respect to cognitive development, that is, can children do simple problem solving tasks? Second was with respect to early language, that is, do children have early language skills? Third was with respect to early numeracy, that is, do these children have a sense of numbers and quantity? And fourth was with respect to social and emotional development, that is, are these child able to identify different kinds of emotions? So, in this regard, the report has shown that preschool learning levels depends on a number of factors such as child's background, that is, its background with respect to its home, mother's educational level of the child, the type of preschool which the child attends, that is, whether the child attends Anganwadi schools or whether they attend private preschooling, and age of child entering class 1. So these are the four category which has been taken into consideration while making the report with respect to preschool learning levels. So the key highlights of this report with respect to language skill is that only 21% of children in class 1 of government schools could read words compared to 46.7% in private schools. And these glaring differences can again be attributed to preschool learning or preschool readiness of the child. Next, it says that only 16% children in class 1 can read text at the prescribed level and about 40% cannot even recognize letters. Now, with respect to cognitive skills, it mentions about different cognitive tasks such as serial order identification, identification and recognition of a pattern, as well as solving puzzle, whereby only 23.8% children of grade 1 or class 1 in government schools could do all three tasks compared to 43.1% in private schools. And again, the symptoms goes back to preschool learning. So we understand that the government needs to improvise and improve its preschool learning in the Anganwadi centers. Now, with respect to numerical skills, it says that only 41% of these children could recognize two-digit numbers and 28% in government schools could do simple addition compared to 47% in private schools. So this article effectively says with respect to key observation that the difference in learning is basically with respect to the preschool learning level in the private sector as well as in the government schools, whereby preschool learning is not that much emphasized in government school. And this is the reason of basic differences in percentage of different types of literacy levels of children in private schools and government schools. And this difference with respect to learning outcome is also because private schools are starting school based curriculum in their preschool itself, which the Anganwadi system is missing as of now. So, with respect to way forward, it says that early childhood program under the ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Services, should streamline preschool curriculum in order to develop cognitive abilities in a child so that they can for their early literacy and increase in numerical skills. So in this regard, some important highlights of the report becomes important. It says that the report says that permitting underage children into primary grades put them at a learning disadvantage which is difficult to overcome unless their cognitive abilities are developed in a certain time period. The ASER surveys found that a primary classroom could include students from a range of age groups, skewing towards younger children in government schools. And global research shows that 90% of brain growth occurs by the age of 5, which means that quality of early childhood education has a very crucial and important role to play with respect to development and schooling of any child. So, in this aspect, this report becomes important with respect to cognitive development of a child in their preschool phase. And this topic becomes important from the perspective of social issues, especially education in GS paper 2. The next news appears on page number 9. It says CRZ rules eased for blue flag beaches. States can construct infrastructure to enable international recognition, says the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So, this news highlights that the Ministry of Environment and Forest has relaxed CRZ rules, especially with respect to constructing infrastructure along certain Indian beaches. And this has been done so that these beaches can compete for blue flag certification, which mandates certain important infrastructural development, such as portable toilet blocks, grey water treatment plants, solar power plants, seating facilities, CCTV surveillance, etc. So, in order to compete for this blue flag certification, the government of India has relaxed these CRZ rules. And after relaxation of these CRZ rules, construction of these important infrastructure necessary to compete for blue flag certification will be permitted at a minimum distance of 10 meter from high tide line. Now, high tide line refers to a line on the land up to which highest water reaches during spring tide. So, in this analysis, let us learn certain basic facts with respect to spring tide as well as about this blue flag certification. Now, this aspect has been taken from NCERT. It says that periodical rise and fall of sea level once or twice a day, mainly due to attraction of the sun and the moon, is called tide. And this tide is different from surges. It highlights that movement of water caused by meteorological effects such as winds, atmospheric pressure, and changes are called surges. And these surges are not regular like tides. Now, with respect to spring tides, it says that when the sun, the moon, and the earth are in straight line, then the height of the tide will be higher, and these are called spring tides, and they occur twice a month, one on full moon period and another during new moon period. So, with respect to spring tides, position of both the sun and the moon in relation to the earth has a direct bearing on the height of the tide. So, it is in this aspect that construction with respect to relaxation of CRZ rules has been allowed at a minimum distance of 10 meter from high tide line. Now, with respect to blue flag certification, blue flag is an international voluntary eco label awarded to beaches, marinas, and sustainable boating tourism operators. And this program for beaches was started by Copenhagen-based Foundation for Environmental Education in France in the year 1985. And this foundation of Copenhagen based NGO promotes sustainable development through environmental education. And this is credited with 5 programs, including Blue Flag, Eco Schools, Young Reporters for the Environment, Learning About Forest, and Green Key International. And this organization aims to promote sustainable development in freshwater and marine areas. Further, in order to qualify for this award, a series of stringent environmental, educational, and safety related and access related criteria must be met and maintained. And in this regard, about 4,500 beaches, marinas, and boat operators from 44 different countries have joined the Blue Flag network. So the criteria for blue flag certification is accorded based on 33 stringent criteria under 4 major heads. These 4 major heads are: first, with respect to environmental education and information; second, with respect to bathing water quality; third, environment management and conservation; and fourth, with respect to safety and services. And in this aspect, some of the important criteria includes water quality standards, waste disposal facilities, disabled friendly beaches, first aid facilities as such beaches, and no access to pets in the main areas of the beach. Further, with respect to Indian efforts to achieve this blue flag certification, it says that in December 2017, India adopted the blue flag standards to develop Indian beaches. And in this aspect, Society for Integrated Coastal Management, which functions under Ministry of Environment and Forest, is entrusted with the responsibility to develop beaches as per the blue flag standards. So, in this aspect, SICOM becomes an important body with respect to beaches attaining blue flag standards. And in this regard, in June 2019, Chandrabhaga beach in Puri district of Orissa has become the first beach in India to be accorded the blue flag certification. So this again becomes a very important aspect from a prelims perspective, that Chandrabhaga beach in Puri district in Orissa has become the first beach in India to be accorded the blue flag certification. And in this regard, India has also selected 12 other beaches to compete for Blue Flag Challenge. These beaches are Goghala Beach in Diu, Shivrajpur Beach in Gujarat, Bhogave Beach in Maharashtra, Padubidri and Kasargod beaches in Karnataka, Kapat beaches in Kerala, Kovalam Beach in Tamil Nadu, Eden Beach in Puducherry, Rushinkonda Beach in Andhra Pradesh, Miramar Beach in Goa, Golden Beach in Odisha, Radhanagar Beach in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Bagaram Beach in Lakshadweep. So these are some of the important beaches which are eyeing for the blue flag certification. So this topic with respect to blue flag beaches and tides become an important topic from the perspective of environment for your prelims examination. Now after our discussions, we have taken these 3 practice questions from page number 17 and page number 8. Now this topic becomes important, hence we will take these topics through practice questions. The first topic is with respect to columns, where the news is etched for centuries, where it says whether it is for mathematical research or beautifying homes, columns have been in the picture for over 6 centuries, and this news traces the historical significance of column. Another news appears on page number 17, which says "Tis the season to play." Traditional games played as part of harvest festival in rural pockets are gaining popularity in cities as well. Now, in this news, various festivals have been mentioned, which becomes important with your prelims perspective with respect to art and culture. And this news has been taken with respect to page number 8, which mentions about Makaravilakku. It says that Ayappa devotees have begun to camp at Sabarimala to worship the Makara Jyoti on Makaravilakku day on Wednesday. So, let us take these 3 practice questions to understand the importance of these topics with respect to art and culture. So, the first question says Kolam as an art form can be associated with. Options are Tamil Nadu, Pongal celebrations, and mathematical research. In this, all the 3 options are correct. So, the question is select the correct answer using the code given below. So, the correct answer is D 1, 2, and 3. Question number 2. Which of the following can be said to be games played to mark cultural celebrations? Options are Jallikattu, Vazuku Maram, Uri Adithal, and Elavattakal. In this, all the four options are correct. So the question is select the correct answer using the code given below. So again, the correct answer here is D. That is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Question number 3. Makaravilakku can be associated with. Options are cultural sports in Tamil Nadu, worship at Sabarimala during Makar Sankranti, dance festival of Assam, and none of the above. In this, the correct answer is B. That is worship at Sabarimala during Makar Sankranti. Now today, we have an important announcement to make. Rao's IAS Study Circle has started the UPSC prelims practice for the coming exam on 31st May 2020. And in this regard, we have started the UPSC Prelims 2020 Practice MCQs with respect to current affairs and your core concepts. You must watch these sessions so that you stay connected with your preparation, as it will give you the right approach to understand the importance of various topics, and it will also help you to revise important topics with respect to current affairs themes. So do watch these videos for your upcoming prelims examination, and link for these have been given in the description of this particular DNS. Further, Rao's IAS Study Circle also wishes all those students who have cleared the mains examination and they will appear for the upcoming interview. So we wish you all the best from our side. Another important announcement is that tomorrow there will be no publication of the Hindu newspaper on account of Pongal celebrations. So the next DNS video will be published on 17th January 2020. So we wish you a very happy Pongal on behalf of Rao's IAS Study Circle. With this, let's move on to our question for the day.